Hi, I'm Dr. Ebony Stone, and this is the Black Woman in the Corner Office. All right, everybody. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Black Woman in the Corner Office podcast. I am your host, Dr. Ebony Stone, and I have an amazing guest with us today. We're going to have a lot of fun. Today, we're going to talk about the power of positivity, and I promise you, you're going to have some fun. So let me do this. Let me read some of her bio to you to introduce her, and then we're going to talk to one of my favorite positive people. Okay. And this bio is amazing, by the way. It's a whole lot in it that I could tell you, but I'm going to do my best to hit the highlights. Okay. Her name is Adrienne Reynolds. Adrienne's journey from the west side of Chicago to leadership is absolutely amazing. As a life strategist, entrepreneur, leader, coach, speaker, and author, Adrienne is on a mission to redefine success for women, challenging stereotypes and inspiring change. Born and raised in Chicago, Adrienne has made it her life's work to dismantle the preconceived notions about women from her community. We're going to get into that a little later. Adrienne shares it's about inspiring resilience, courage, and assertiveness in every woman I work with. In a world that is still grappling with gender disparities, Adrienne Reynolds stands as a beacon of hope, proving that with the right mindset and support, success is not just a dream, it's a reality within reach. Welcome, Adrienne.
Thank you, Ebony. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's an honor.
Yes, yes. So we got a lot to do in this hour, and I don't think we're gonna get through it, which is cool because I love talking to you, and we can have you back. I want our listeners to kind of have an idea of why I asked you to come and talk about the power of positivity. So,
Yes.
Adrienne and I met in a coaching certification program. And I believe in my heart of hearts that at that moment in my life, I was looking for particular community, right? I was looking for particular connections. And I believe that you were. I believe that Melissa, who is the third of the three musketeers, was looking for that as well. And God put us in that place at the same time. And we connected. And it's crazy what this internet will do. I feel like you guys are my neighbors, right? I feel
Yeah.
like I can just run outside and talk to Adrienne whenever I want to, or run across the street and talk to Melissa. But the reality is, we live in three different states. The one thing that I noticed right off is no matter what happens, when we start talking, and mostly guys were chatting during the day, when we start chatting, no matter what happens, Adrienne is the voice that will flip it into something positive. And I'm just like, how do you do that? It is bonkers. So I'm going to start first asking you to tell me about your journey to this positive place where you're just always finding something positive to talk about.
It's actually interesting. I grew up, I guess in a typical African American home. I grew up with my grandparents. And so I thought I was positive. People say for the most part, I would find or be able to put a spin on something. Um, but I was very, I would say, I guess you could say I was kind of combative. I
Okay.
felt I was combative. I felt I was
The
combative.
opposite of
Um,
positive, combative.
Correct. The very opposite of being positive. And because I wanted to be a lawyer growing up, and I wanted to prove everybody, prove a point, right? And so I learned how to uh I learned how to read between the lines and just have this conversation to put a spin on some things. Well, after a while, some years went by, and after a while, I kind of started to realize that when I would speak, I call them insta thoughts. My insta thought would probably be something negative.
Okay, hold on. What's the instant thought?
It's the
T-
very first thought that comes to your mind. It's
Ah,
the insta
okay,
thought.
okay.
Now, whether it comes out of your mouth or not is something totally different. But your insta thought tells you what you're thinking. It's either going to be a negative thought or a positive thought. And if you
Mm,
go with that insta thought, if you run with it and it comes out of your mouth, then that'll, if you're being positive or you're being negative, that determines the conversation. And so I noticed a lot of times my insta thought would probably be negative, right?
mm,
And again, growing up on the west side of Chicago, in the inner city, you have to kind of be in defensive mode. And so
mhm.
I never really thought of myself as being positive. But I got tired of people telling me, because after a while, people started telling me I was kind of negative, right? And I would have people tell me I was negative, but then I would have some people say, "But you have a way of kind of spinning it though." And so I said, "You know
Mm,
what? I don't want to be known as a negative person because I don't want to be that stereotype of that
right.
of that black girl from the west side of Chicago. No, I
Mhm.
want to." And my grandparents all and my mother always told me um, that you're not your environment. You don't have to be your environment.
Right.
Um, you can make changes, you can reinvent yourself. That was something that was always told to me. And
I
so
love that. I love
I
that.
took that and I said, you know what, I want to start being more positive. And so
Okay.
I just started being more self-aware and listening to myself as I would talk, and then paying attention to my insta thoughts
Instant
and
thoughts. I love it.
pausing, and to your point, to pause,
So
having to pause
pause. Yes.
before I would actually speak and say, okay,
Okay.
what's another way to look at that?
Yes. And you do it. You do it so well. I am always amazed. And I want to get into how we do that in career, but how we do it in life, right? And so we're gonna get into something that happened to you today. You guys, I asked her permission before. I had no idea this was how the conversation was gonna go this morning. Until I just talked to Adrienne a few minutes ago. Adrienne, right before this call, was dealing with a toilet overflowing and literally said to me, what did you say to me about the devil?
The devil is a lie.
And then what did you say?
When
I'm going to thank the devil for what?
For this because this is an opportunity to speak about positivity. Because honestly, my insta thought was positive. It
Yes.
I could have gone down. I call it pity city. I could have went down into pity city with the
Pity
shoulda, woulda,
City.
coulda, and just why, Lord, why me, why me, why this got to happen? You know this gonna happen. But you know what? Anytime something good is coming about in your life, know that something that a distraction is gonna come.
It
And if
is.
you know that, then you can be intentional as to how the direction you go in.
Yes. So you want to talk about the power of positivity. How many of y'all dealing with a overflowing toilet talking about thank you devil for this opportunity to be positive? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. But I think what I'm hearing you say is that we have to train ourselves. We train our bodies when we're going on, when we're exercising.
Mhm.
We train our minds when we're in school. We're training for marathons. We're training in diets. We go take classes. We go take classes to be coaches, to be certified, right? We do all of these things, um, but we're not training our brains to be positive. And that's what I think I hear you saying.
Correct. Correct. We
Yeah.
typically we are a product of our environment in some ways,
Mhm.
in a lot of ways. And we we're not taught to be positive, right? We're taught to stand strong, be firm, overcome this, try to, learn how to navigate. But the right way to navigate is with a good mindset, right? Because if you're trying to navigate with a negative mindset, a lot of times you're going to hit more obstacles because you're not being strategic, because you're fighting against something versus taking the lead and control of it.
I love that. You're
And
fighting
it is
against
about
it as opposed to taking the lead and taking control of it.
mhm.
Y'all take control of them backed up toilets when it happens, right?
Look, what we have to realize what we can and can't control. And while it was I couldn't control it, I couldn't control it overflowing. However, I could control cleaning it up and
Mhm.
not letting it get to me. I could control myself and how I responded to it versus
Yeah.
reacting to it.
So when we think about being in these corporate spaces, right? You want to be positive. We try to be positive. But as Black women, as you mentioned, we're often told we have to be, we're the expectation. It's not verbalized. Like we're strong Black women. So it does not matter, right? We should be able to manage the microaggressions. We should
Mhm.
be able to manage the 12, 14-hour days. We should be able to manage the difficult clients. We should be able to manage all of these things with grace, right?
Correct.
And we want to. And you mentioned pausing, right? You know how I feel about it. Wrote a whole book about pausing for a minute because we feel like we just got to go, go, go. And
Yep.
when you're going like that, positivity can fall away.
Mhm.
What do you say to women in these spaces that are like, Adrienne, I'm trying, but it's just a lot. It's just a lot. What do I do?
So first I would say you pause.
Mm,
Honestly, you pause.
I love it.
Um because you can't you cannot think of a strategy. You can't think beyond what's in front of you if you
Mm,
don't pause because you
yes.
have all of these things that's in front of your mind that's surfacing and that you have all these things to do. So
Yeah.
you have to be able to pause. Um, but also I would say you have to be self-aware, right?
Mm,
So, because we're always on the go and we don't take that pause and we're trying to live up to those stereotypes of being or the expectation of being strong and graceful at the same time, we sometimes lie to ourselves to keep that going, right? So, and it's not intentional, it's just like a defense mechanism, right? It's a trauma response to keep going. Is we aren't self-aware. We don't admit that we're tired, or if we do,
mm,
it's in an explosive way, not in
girl.
a way to heal. Um, we have to be able to be honest to say, you know what, I actually probably contributed to that, right?
Mm.
So going back to that stopped up toilet. I was doing my makeup. I threw the little piece of tissue in the toilet. I probably could have waited to flush that toilet. But I did it. I was like, let me go ahead and get this done and so I can get to this podcast because I have this interview with Ebony and I don't want to be late.
Mm.
I could have waited. So and for me, re- responsibility, I did that. The onus was on me, right? And I chose, and how I chose to respond to it was on me. Again, I could have gone down that, Lord, woe is me, why it happened. So, but I had to be self aware, knowing that I can do have a tendency to sometimes go down in the pity city. I still do. It's not. I'm not perfect. But I also know that I have a tendency to do that. So, um, and I could admit that. So I'm I am self aware. Also being present,
Mm.
knowing what triggers you,
Yes.
knowing that
Yes.
life happens, knowing that things happen, and so when they do, focus on what's in front of you. You just gotta stay there, stay where you are,
Yes.
be present.
Yes.
Yeah,
And people and things around you will give you clues, even when you're not, your brain hasn't given you the clue, right? Um, I talked about how a couple years ago, I heard my kids laughing, right? They're like, "Oh, here we go again." They were talking about me because I want to talk about explosive. I can slam a door and make a house shake, right? And they were laughing, but the reality is it wasn't funny. And that should have told me right then, whoa, You're not, something's wrong, right? You
Mhm.
gotta you gotta take a step back. And now I'm keenly aware of the comments that my children make. So one of the things that we do, as like what you just said, as Black women, we're just going, right? We're just going, going, going. And we put so much on our plates. And long time ago, my daughter was, I don't know, maybe 8. And she said, "Well, how much more work you got to do before you can play with me?" Broke my heart, right? I was like, "I'm just going to stop. I'm going to go play with her." But my children are older now. And so they don't need as much of my attention.
Mhm.
However, 2 days ago, I said to my son, dinner's on the stove. I got 3 meetings this evening. I'm going to be in my office. And he was like, "Dang, mom, you got more meetings now than you had before." And I was like, "Oh, you're going back into that place, right?" So I love what you say about being self aware so that you can push into the positivity. Because I literally went in and I blocked my calendar off certain times in the evening. Like, nope, in order for me to stay positive, I got to stay with my family because that's what makes me happy. That's when I'm able to think. Also, Adrienne knows this because I shared it with her. Um, I found the sleep feature on my phone. And so now at 9 o'clock, that sucker don't buzz, it don't ring. And you know what I realized? It doesn't even give me the little notification thing to
Mhm.
show me that somebody said something. So I'm waking up in the morning like, Adrienne and Melissa done had whole conversations without me. Because my phone just, it kind of shuts down, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I think being self aware, I love what you said about being self aware. It's important.
And to your point about the app, it allows you to actually be present, right? Because
Yes.
now, again, because we're always on and some notification tells us there's something to do, so we have to address
Mhm.
it in that moment, it stops you from doing that so that you're able
Mm.
to be present with your family.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I almost said, I'm cutting this off. I don't like not being a part of the conversation. And then I said, mm-mm. If anybody understands, it will be the two of them. They will understand why I've cut this off. Now, what we said one word in the beginning of your bio. We haven't talked much about it, so I want to talk about it. We said Adrienne is an author, right? And we haven't touched on that much. So I want to talk about your book. Adrienne, you said you had your book there. Do me a favor, show everybody your book. Can we see it? First of all, can you turn it the other way so we can see the spine? Y'all see how
Yeah.
thick this thing is? Adrienne put some work into that bad boy, right?
You
Tell us
see it?
about the book, and because it centers on positivity, tell us about the book, why you wrote the book, and then we'll get into how people can use it to harness the power of positivity.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned earlier, I am a strategist. I naturally tend to think in processes. And so I plan everything out. And at the same time, when I was trying to be positive, I said, how can I combine the two? Right?
Mm,
Because I have to have a strategy to stick to a process in order to be positive. And so God just gave it to me to put together a planner. And it's a 90-day planner because at the time, we were kind of in the frame of mind that it took 90 days to to replace a habit. So it was 21 days to break one, and then it would take 90 days in order for you to get started on a good routine into a new habit. And
okay.
so the planner is 90 days, and it was really just the steps that I took in order to learn how to be positive. So I had a goal that I still had to meet. I didn't want to discount those. Um, so I would create my goals for the day, and then how could I be me positive? Well, that was with affirmation. So I
Yes.
started to change what I said to myself because we talk to ourselves all the time. We have the
All
self
day.
talk all day, every day. You have the self talk. So why not talk good to yourself? Why not speak good things over yourself?
Mm,
Because out of the mouth, the heart speaks.
Yes.
What we think about ourselves, what we actually believe, comes out of our mouth. And so
Yes.
we can, and even though sometimes we say what we believe, if your instant thought and what you tend to gravitate to is not along the lines of that belief system, then you need to really start to speak more positively about align with what you believe,
Yes.
if that makes
Yes.
sense. And so if I
Yes.
say I'm walking by faith, but then I'm always questioning why this is happening and this is happening to me, and why did the toilet stop up today, and why did the ceiling fall in, Lord? I'm walking by faith. So I don't know why it happened, but I have faith that there's a
Yes.
reason for it and something's good gonna come out of it.
Absolutely. Tell us about the structure of what's in the book and how it pushes you toward that positive mindset.
Yeah, so the book helps you to be very intentional. And it is uh daily creating a routine for yourself. So you start each morning out with exploring what is that laundry list of things that you have to do, narrowing it down to three, because you can only prioritize it to three items a day. You can't face everything. We can't, just be realistic. And it's kind of like walking you through creating a short SMART goal um for those three goals that you have that day. And then after that, you set your intention with being positive about it, right? You're gonna change that, have that self-talk. I am beautiful. Um, I am smart. I am able to do this. Hype yourself up. Like, this is your motivation.
Be your
Um,
own hype man, right?
be your own hype man.
Yes.
And after you set your affirmations, you're going to commit to yourself. Like, you're going to say, this is what I'm willing to do today. This is what I haven't done, but I'm willing to try it. I'm willing to give myself some grace. Um, and then you go on with your day. And then at the end of the day, you come back and you do an evaluation. You say, okay, what did I accomplish today? And if I didn't accomplish it, why not? How do I feel about it? Should it have really been something I needed to focus on today? And then you're also going to end it with gratitude. If there anything that you accomplished, I don't care if, for example, I remember I had a coach, because I had to have my own coach. Uh, she told me one day to really focus on even the small things that you're grateful for.
Yes.
So at the time, I was leading a team, and it was like we would have like a moment where things would seem like it was going well, and then the very next day it would just seem to fall apart all over again. I'm like, oh, but I thought we were going in the right direction. And she was like, don't discount the fact that you had that good moment the day before.
Mm.
Celebrate,
Yes.
because it
Yes.
still happened. Acknowledge it. And so
Yes.
that's what I have in the book, is at the end of the day, you end it with a gratitude, even if it's the smallest thing that you're thankful for. Just say it. Then be very detailed. Like, we have a tendency to say, "Oh, thank you, Lord, for waking me up this morning." Okay, well, what about it? But you have your sight. Some people don't.
Yes.
You have all of your limbs. Some people don't. Be
Yes.
specific in what you're grateful for. I heard TD Jakes say one day, be thankful for the fact that you may not be walking around with a colonoscopy bag, because some people have to. That's another way that some people do have to. That is their lifestyle, and so they have to figure out how to navigate that way. And
Yes.
if you do have a colonoscopy bag, be thankful that you have a colonoscopy bag.
Yeah.
Be thankful for the small things, because you don't have to have them. There are people who are actually worse off than you. And
Absolutely.
and then
Absolutely.
celebrate those things, right? We don't have to have some big party, or it doesn't have to be like a graduation or a turning of a milestone age in order to celebrate. Celebrate those small things, because if you don't, it's like you're drudging through to something major to happen in order for you to celebrate, and you're ignoring all of the small things that came along. So that's really the structure of the book, and it's
Yes.
90 days every day.
And I don't think, did we say the name of the book? I don't think we did. It's the 90
No,
Day Positivity Planner,
it's planning
right?
positive 90-day plan. It's a planning
That's,
positive 90-day planner for positive
yeah.
living. Ironically.
Yes. We'll make sure that's in the notes for you guys, along with a link to purchase it. So as you were talking about this, I'm going to ask you. I know I didn't tell you this in advance, but it should be super easy. I'm going to ask you just to open the book and read one of the affirmations for us because every day there are affirmations in this planner. And I started working through the planner and then I called Adrienne and I said, I'm going to stop and I'm going to start on a particular day because I want my 90 days to end at a particular time, right? That's what I told her. But because I had started, she had already planted a seed. And so right now, if you walk into my bathroom, there are 4 sticky notes that I've written and they are on my mirror and I go through them daily. They're actually prayers. They're not affirmations, but they're prayers. They're 4 very specific prayers um, that I want to say out loud, right? Because I think there's power in words, in voicing those words. So can you read one of the affirmations for us, just to give the listeners kind of a peek into what they will see inside the book?
Okay, so uh, one of the affirmations is I respond to situations versus react. I am inspired to learn something new. I give myself permission to succeed. I am committed to bettering myself. I know when to walk away from negativity.
Yes, I love it. And then tell us how many times we will say that affirmation, because it's not just one time.
Correct. So the way the book is broken down is that it's 10 days. You have 10 affirmations that you're going to speak these affirmations for 10 days straight.
Yes.
So that way it's repetitive and it's more likely to stick. I had an English teacher say repetition was the mother of study. And that's true.
Hmm.
What we tend to repeat is what sticks with us. So
Yes.
it's 10 days of reciting the same affirmations before you move to the next 10.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So one other thing, Adrienne, that I'm gonna give a peek into what we were talking about before we got started. So I also think that you have to create an environment that you can be positive in. Sometimes you just have to deal with the environment that you have, right? Sometimes we can't create our environment, and that's fine. We focus on what's on the inside, and when we can create an environment, we do. But if you are in a space to create the environment that you want around you, even if it's small things, right? I love books. There are always books around me. I love journals. Y'all can't see the bottom of my bookcase, but there are journals everywhere. I love me a good journal, right? A nice journal with something positive on it. I pulled a bunch of them out. I was going to show you, but I pulled a bunch of them out for something else and was taking pictures of them. But a nice journal is good for me. We had a conversation about something that is really cool to us. Adrienne, I'm going to ask that you show them your drink. Can you show them your drink? If you can't see Adrienne's drink, Adrienne has her drink in a wine glass. It
Yes.
is juice. It is just juice, right? It's got a cute little woman on it. Looks like she got on some denim. She's doing the dang thing, right?
Yes.
Long earrings. Adrienne was like, it's just juice, but I feel good drinking out of this cup. And I was like, see, that's why me and Adrienne get along. Because when I need a little positivity in my life, I'm not a drinker, not a big drinker. I'll have a glass of wine, right? But I will go in my kitchen, I get my wine glass, I put me a little cranberry juice in it, and I feel like I'm doing something. I feel good, right? My daughter said to me, I just feel good when I got my Starbucks cup in my hand, mama, and my purse on my elbow. If that's what makes her feel good, baby, go get that Starbucks and step,
Exactly.
right? It
Yeah.
helps shift the mindset. And that's what we need to do. We got to shift into a positive space. Um,
I
just
want to also say,
go ahead.
in addition to that, just setting the environment, um, not only with the drinks, but there are other things. Like on my desk, I have a little rock that says "You rock."
Nice.
I have a client who, and I said I was going to actually get these to kind of give out to people, but there's something called a positive potato.
A positive potato.
It's a little crocheted potato that's holding a
Oh,
little sign that says positive potato.
I love it. I love it, right?
And it's little things like that. It's the things that bring you joy that make you smile because as you go through your day, you can't necessarily change your environment sometimes, but you can change how you respond or react to it, what you're thinking, your perception of it. You control that.
Yes, yes. So I got two more questions for you. The one is, you have a background, you're certified in meditation, right? That
Mediation. It's actually
mediation.
mediation.
Oh, I'm sorry, mediation. I said that word wrong earlier. Mediation. You're a coach. You have a healthcare background. Do you feel like any of that played into your journey of moving into a positive space?
It helped, honestly.
Okay.
So, I was a group psychotherapist um for a few years. And while I'm sitting here teaching people how to not necessarily be positive, but I'm teaching them how to just activities for daily living and how to set goals and plan your budget. I'm doing all of these things, and I'm also working alongside the therapist. So at the time when I say I fell into coaching because well, coaching actually came to me. Uh, I started learning how to just shift my mindset. And so I use a lot of those um those cognitive reframing tools. I use a lot of those cognitive reframing techniques and tools to actually help be positive.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, one last question for you,
Mhm.
and then we'll wrap up. And that is, what do you think would surprise our listeners about positivity that we haven't talked about yet? Anything?
Yes, people will be surprised that you can usually find the positive in about at least 99% of every situation.
Yes. I love that.
That is what will surprise people. I usually tell the story of how when I was managing a team in one of the clinics, I used this. I told them the same thing. I was doing a, a workshop with them. It was
Mhm.
as a meeting, and I was saying, I understand. You get tired, you're feeling burned out. I'm like, but like, let's try to think of another way to look at this, right? And not just I'm here for my paycheck. Like, why? What's the reason why you're here? If you're in healthcare, it's here to help people, right? So hold on to your why, right? Make that
Yes.
strong enough. And somebody said, "You can't find the positive in everything." I said, "Try me."
Mm.
So at that point, it was like they started like shooting challenges that they were coming at, even personal experiences. And they were like, "Well, what's another way to look at this?" And I kid you not, 100% of the time at that point, I was able to say, "Well, this as a result of that, this happened. As a result of that, this happened." Just because something negative happens to us doesn't mean something good can't come from it. The Bible says that all things work for the good, right?
Yes.
So even when it's something that's negative that happens to us, if we learn from it, we can use it, be it maybe we're supposed to use that lesson to empower other people. It teaches us how to set boundaries, what environments not to be in, what people not to hang around. Um, what should we learn in life,
Mhm.
so usually, I'm not saying 99% of the time, I still haven't found that instance where it's not, but I am realistic. But for the most part, you can pretty much find the positive in just about everything.
I love that. Listen, let me tell y'all, get you an Adrienne Reynolds in your life. That's what you need to do. So, Adrienne, tell us what's next for you, where we can find you, all the things that you have available for people who need a chief empowerment officer. Or I'm gonna give you a whole nother title. I'm gonna call you the chief positivity officer. But for people who want to keep up with you, tell us where we can find you and what you're doing.
Yeah, so actually, I am creating a program around the Planning Positive. So there will be a Planning Positive masterclass coming,
Sign me
as
up.
well as a podcast. So that is in the works. I just have a few more workshops coming up. One is being resilient. I'm going to do that workshop again. And where you can find me is I am on Instagram under Empower Buddy, and I am on LinkedIn as Empowered for Success LLC, as well as YouTube under Empowered for Success LLC.
Nice. And we will drop all of those links in the notes. Adrienne, thank you so much for being here. It is so important to collaborate. I believe in my heart of hearts, there is enough for all of us. And as Black women, we have got to come together. We have got to collaborate. Can you imagine if we come together with these positive mindsets? It ain't nothing in the world that can stop us. So I want you all to continue to just think about the power of positivity and how it can change your life. Again, Adrienne, thank you. And we
Thank
will
you. Thank you
absolutely.
for having me.
You got it. We'll probably have you come on back because we got a whole lot of stuff we can talk about. But we will see you all on the next episode of the Black Woman in the Corner Office. You guys keep spreading that Black girl magic. See you soon. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye.